First and foremost is Mr. Gabriel Iqbal, who is an award-winning, internationally acclaimed Canadian lean management, leadership behavioral skills, and sustainability training specialist. Apparently you are a paradigm-shifting scientist, author, poet, and humanitarian. Wow. Okay. And then we have Kamal Sandhu sitting right next to him. She is a spiritual guide, intuitive healer, and meditation guide who helps people to make journey inward to rediscover the hidden self. I think I can definitely, get some help there to rediscover myself, of course, from your therapeutic skills there. And Ms. Rummana Chowdhury, she is interpreter and translator at the Ministry of Attorney General, author, and you're a poetess too?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would like you all, starting with Gabriel, yourself, to introduce yourself briefly and starting it off.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having us.
So please introduce yourself in your own words.
Well, you've done the introduction. It's very difficult to introduce yourself in any possible way because working on a transcendental view of humanity, it's such a vast subject that kind of connects everything, and you lose yourself in it. So to define myself by now has become almost a kind of void, because as Carl Jung, one of the eminent psychologists, kind of mentions it, says, there's no coming to consciousness without pain and suffering. The suffering of the world, if it doesn't reflect on you, I wouldn't say you're not human, but you are not attuned to what humanity is then. So to define myself at this stage, I'm really sorry to say I'm kind of at a loss. I'm sure some of these poets,
Yes,
you can associate with that.
Of
So
course
I'll leave the descriptions probably as what you have described. Yes, I have worked in lean management with various organizations worldwide, and this journey has really reflected on a global perspective of how do we just change the paradigm, not just at a self level, but at a social level and at a global level. So that's been, if I can call it, my journey for the last 25 years.
Wow, that's quite a long time to be on this journey, and having researched you as a guest on our show, it's evident that like the transcendental and the metaphysics and the esoteric, it's so just part of your DNA now, is the best way for me to say it.
Yeah.
And I relate so well because it's been my journey as well, not for 25 years, but nonetheless, I would say it's probably all of our journey. And the fact that we just get so engrossed in the physical that we lose sight of what we truly are. Oftentimes we think that we have a spiritual experience and I'm a human being going through a spiritual experience, whereas in actual fact it's the opposite. We're spiritual beings currently going through a human experience. Profound. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction of yourself. And now Kamal.
I totally agree with Gabriel what he said. It is very, very difficult to give an introduction to something that I haven't yet discovered.
Yes.
I haven't found myself. Yes.
I could relate so well because it truly is an everyday process, right?
Yes.
It's not even a knowing of oneself, but an awareness or a discovery.
Definitely.
Because what I am today, or even in a previous moment, could be completely different.
Different from what I was before. Yes.
Or what I am now.
Yeah, definitely. I'm usually, I think long back I read one poem which said, I am rain. It was a beautiful book I discovered in one of the old libraries, and when I picked up the page that I opened, there was a little poor boy sitting on one side and looking upwards in the sky. And right on the opposite side of the page it said, someone asked me, "Who are you?" And I could not answer because I am a mystery even to myself.
Wow.
And I think that totally, like, it's till date that describes me, because I have not been able to yet discover myself. I think all of us are a mystery, but every day I think we discover a new part of ourselves, what we were, what we are, what we are going to be. It is all in the unknown. So I am helping others to discover, and I'm discovering myself all the while.
Amazing. And you know what? All of us will have an opportunity to discover each one of ourselves newly, as well as each other.
Yeah.
So what an exciting show we
It
have.
is.
Yes.
Thank
And
you.
that's what I mentioned. I think the process of discovery just continues, and as much as I like to say, and I just talks a lot, when it comes to talking about myself, is I think I rediscover something about myself almost on a daily basis. I wonder if that's normal.
Yes.
I would
it
say
is.
for sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Welcome
There's a
to the
consensus
club.
here. Now I'd like to give Rummana an opportunity to introduce herself, and then we'll get into like the meat and potatoes, so to speak.
Thank you, Fariha. Thank you, Mani, for bringing us to this wonderful, interesting show. Introducing myself, I come from Bangladesh. My roots are there. And I was writing in Bengali in Bangladesh. And then when I immigrated to Canada 35 years ago, I started writing in both the languages, Bengali and English. Initially in Bangladesh I was writing in the English newspapers, then I came to Canada and I missed Bengali so much I started writing in Bengali. But now after staying here 35 years I find if we have to express ourselves properly in every sphere, we should also try to get into the mainstream. So I do some of my translations, poetry, short stories, novels from Bengali to English, but last 5 years I'm doing English novels, writing short stories about our existence and being. That's very deep, very profound, and it is very difficult to speak in a few words. But all of us have our being, our inner self. We have to discover ourselves mentally, spiritually, physically. All these factors contribute to our present existence. And then there's the mental existence and the intellectual, spiritual one. We are all trying to find our identity. For example, we've immigrated from one country to another. My book of mine, poetry book, came out from the USA. I titled it, "Where Do I Belong?" I have lived here 35 years. I feel I belong here, but then back home. And they did a very nice cover design, tulips for Canada and Krishnachura, that's a Bangladeshi flower,
Yes.
on the cover. So I'm still trying to find where do I belong, where I am going, how to amalgamate between the two countries and produce our best spirits, our best output for the world, for humanity.
Wow.
Amazing. Yes, yes, very much so. So I am so excited to get into further conversation with each one of our guests. Before we do that, it is time for a break. And what do we have lined up, Mani? I believe we have a number of requests today.
Exactly. So we have What a Wonderful World. Now this is a request from Gabriel. So I would like you to speak to that. What's the significance of you picking up this?
Well, Louis Armstrong, obviously the singer,
Yeah.
this song became very popular, especially in an ever challenging world where everybody is focusing on the problems around the world. And most of these problems are actually created by human beings. And we also have the solution for them, but save the political will. I stay away from politics as much as possible because it's really a abyss, and it is almost so dull that it desensitizes you because of the rhetoric that you hear worldwide. It's almost down to the level that it's almost a very primitive Stone Age thinking the way we have the current paradigm in the world. So Louis Armstrong's song is reflecting on nature, on the sun, the moon, the flower, and he sees what a wonderful world. Everything is in balance, everything is so well orchestrated. And this was the time of jazz was popular, soul was popular, and all sorts of experimentation was going on with the hippie movement in California and all that stuff. And I believe this song kind of was part of that movement of an intuitive shift in consciousness. And what does it mean? When we have poetry and aphorisms and songs, why do they inspire us so much? Because they actually speak to a self which has not come alive as yet, and we have these pangs of a zest worldwide to seek it, and you can feel it inside your soul. It's almost crying to come out, and whenever we hear it from a song, something inside us jumps forward. You know, you got a lump in your throat, and you got, you know, your eyes well up, and well, it's not a machine that does that. There's something very profound that does that, and that's why I like this song so much.
Well, let's listen to this good old song, What a Wonderful World.
And
by
focus
Louis
on the positive
Armstrong.
and all the good in the world.
Absolutely.
I see trees of green.
Absolutely, we do. So the another request, of course, is, and this is in Omajino. Now you have to tell me, Rummana, because this is Bengali and I don't speak Bengali at
Yes,
all.
thank you. This is a Bangla song, Bengali,
Yes.
from Bangladesh. And it's a very famous singer, Sabina Yasmin,
Yes.
who will be singing it. And this song is centered around the rivers of Bangladesh. As you know, we have come from back home, and the people living in the rural areas are the majority people. They enjoy the river. The boatmen are supposed to be very happy with their simple lives. And this song reminds all of us about how simple, how peaceful, how quiet everything in life was before all this war and confusion and violence. So let us try to be going back to those peaceful times with this song.
I think we can still have these peaceful times, you know, with these fishermen, you know, just fishing in those rivers, flowing with the waters, and just, you know, enjoying the day.
Yes, as Gabriel was saying about nature, that's the best therapy for the soul,
Absolutely.
for the heart, for the spirit, nature. And this is one of those songs based on nature.
Let's all enjoy it together.
Thank you.
I like it.
This is the original version. That's what I'm playing.
It sounds a little bit of reggae, right?
Really associate.
It's their own rhythmic song as they are rowing the boat.
Hope you were all on mute.
I'm happy you dug it up. I'm so happy.
You're gonna stay here?
You're okay? Yes. Okay. I'm going to actually move a little bit closer because, oh, so tight. I'm moving it when I'm going over here. Everybody's
Like
so
a fight.
high-pitched and, yes. Okay, I can write that.
I'm so happy you dug it up. I'm so happy. It made my day.
Thanks for you two for everything. I'm going to go to the next one.
Original again, culture. Have a sustainability, move up in culture.
After hearing everything, we go back to our origins.
I really want to hear your poetry. All of it.
Sure.
Okay. hour, and we have a house full here, so we have so much to cover. Okay.
I bought a CD of mine too. You can decide if you want from my house, a copy from the CD, whatever. The CD has the music in the background. You haven't tried it how long or whatever. You know, you have a time limit. So it's okay, I can do my own recitation too.
You can do that?
Not a problem.
Okay. So, Fariha, do we have that?
What a great rhythm! Honestly, music has really no language, and I heard aspects of a little bit of reggae, and it really depicts that music and sentiments transcend borders. They really are global.
Thank you for playing it.
Oh, of course, our pleasure. On our show, Mani and I always speak about, the introspective, about reaching deep within ourselves and creating that awareness, because we do get caught up in the rat race as it happens, and the materialistic is just so, right there in our face. Reality, if we choose to believe that it is reality, is oftentimes harsh and very trying for us, right? And it's when we break away from that and step into the spiritual aspect, or into that sense of all is well. That's your motto, is it not, Kamal?
Yes. Yeah.
And one thing which I would like to expand upon, Kamal, is in our conversation, you had said that to meditate in a room by yourself with your eyes closed is one thing, but to go through life and doing our daily activities in the state of meditation is a totally different experience.
Yes.
So I would like to talk about that, and I'll share where I took it on. So I accepted the challenge to climb up to the CN Tower, and in my preparation, it will be on October, and all of you are most welcome to join us.
Wow.
Climb the CN Tower. The proceeds will go to the United Way, which is a very good cause within Toronto. And in my training to climb up the stairs, I just took on that meditative state, and then climbing the stairs, however much I climbed, it didn't feel like anything.
Wow, beautiful.
Fantastic.
It's like walking on hot coal and you don't feel in some mythology I read
Yes, that's
that.
right. I believe people still do that. They walk on coal, or they walk on fire, and they get across without feeling it.
I know. Just your mental strength.
That's exactly what it is, right? It is
Kamal will
mental.
teach us today.
Right, yes.
Hope so.
And more than the mental, because it's like tuning into what we truly are, tuning into our energy, which is connected to the universe.
Most of the time, when I'm teaching meditation to people, the common complaint that I face is that after a while I can't stay in there. The thoughts start coming in. I think most of the people are just doing the reverse process. They are planning to just sit in a room and then start meditating one fine day, and then they think it'll be just a perfect meditation period, and that is it. Whereas it has to start from our daily life. It has to start from drinking a cup of tea. It has to start from cooking. It has to start from your daily work, whatever you're doing. Once all that is taken care of, then when you sit in a closed room, you will never ever drift out of meditation. There is so much going on in life, in daily life, but if you just pay attention to, for example, you're making tea. In the process of making tea, you make so many other things. You make plans for the day, you make maybe food already which is not cooked. You have made so many question answer sessions. You've done so many things while you've made tea, and you won't even realize when you've made tea and when you have actually had the tea and you're done with it, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I need another cup of tea or coffee. So that is our daily thing that we do.
It sounds like we're just on autopilot mode.
Autopilot mode,
without
yes.
paying attention to what
To
we're
what
actually
we are
doing,
actually doing.
thinking, and even feeling.
And meditation is all about focusing on one thing. That could be anything. Focusing on making tea, focusing on cooking, or focusing on talking to your child. It can be anything, but our minds are so preoccupied with hundreds and thousands of conversations. If so-and-so will say that, I'm going to say that, and this is what I will do. And not that, just that future planning. There are so many times we go back into conversations somebody else we've had in the past, and that has been troubling us till date, and we kind of assume that if I would go back there now, I would change the conversation like that. I should have said that. Why didn't I do that? So those things just stay in us. The mind doesn't get clear. The day you start focusing on just making your tea or coffee, pouring water in the pot, boiling it, simmering it, smelling the ginger in there, and then enjoying every sip of it, you are in meditation. And that is, once you start doing that on a daily basis, you're good to go. When you sit in the room next time, your period of no thoughts will be longer, and it will get better and better.
And also, everything that stirs into our mind of a conversation that's already been, it's never a good idea to go back to it.
It's done with, right?
Yes.
Even if we try to go back, we can't go back in time. Whatever will be. In the process of going back in conversation, so many times we already make new conversations, and when we see that person again in our lives, we blur that out, even when it is not needed. Yeah. So mind is not quiet. Meditation is all about quietening your mind and focusing it on every little thing that you do in your daily life. And it is the simplest thing to do actually, which we have made so complicated.
I know, it's just as much as, I always tell myself that, okay, and it's just not just telling myself, I think it's more than everybody around me tell, that meditation is the one way to quiet me in my mind, right? And I have tried it, and it's just, that worked wonders, but it's always that those things, never goes away. There's so much, I think it's just not the burden of information that's happening all around us, it's just that we have lately stressed ourselves with so many things, that I sometimes wonder if are those things really required? Are those necessary, in our life? And I blame, honestly, this. Gadgets around us, so I never put it down, my phone, it's always one or the other, it are those screens, and as much as I really like to read books, good books, but it's just not happening. It's just so much happening around us that, or it's just maybe I am gauging myself into those things, and being attracted and just to those things which I should not be. So how do you suggest that I just undo all of that damages, so to speak?
I have people coming to me, and sometimes they say, oh, I'm very stressed, I'm very worried. And I tell them, okay, come, sit with me here. And I have a little beautiful room, and we sit there together. And for some time I don't even talk, and they're just waiting for me to say something. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to sit with you and worry and stress and see how does that help me to get out of the problem. So we're saying together to sort it out by worrying and stressing.
Yeah.
It doesn't help.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, I've heard this from many, I'll call them gurus, the late Dr. Wayne Dyer, Abraham Hicks, from Deepak Chopra, that it never works to focus on the problem. We should be solution-oriented. Focus on the solution and it will come. If we're focused on the problem, it's the past.
And sometimes addressing the problem is actually aggravating the problem. If you leave it alone, it is taken care of in one way or the other. I tell people, whenever there is a bigger problem that you see you can't sort out, anyways, most of the time we can't sort out the things. They are taken care of by themselves. There is always a blueprint that is ready. Universe works in a very mystical way. With the problem there is a solution. With a question there is an answer. So you will find it, but one can only find question answers or solutions to the problems with a calm mind. And meditation comes very, very handy in that. It is a little bit of training. If you watch science documentaries, they really show how mind changes itself. And it is all upon us how much we put in there to change our minds. So many times we are just living on the beliefs. I remember that when we were kids, our mom or our friends or in our culture, they used to say, oh, the cat has crossed the road and now you shouldn't be crossing the road, something bad will happen. It's a bad omen, right?
Yeah.
So these kind of things, don't drink milk at this hour, or this is not good for health. So many things just come from so many different sources that they embed in us really, really deep. we don't even try to see what is the base of that. Is it really that happens, or is it our mind that is making things happen? So many times we create a lot of things, a lot of problems for ourselves, or problems on top of problems, stress on top of stress.
Yeah.
Meditation is one part where it comes very, very handy when you are very quiet, when you're sitting, and when you look at those things, they really look very small. I don't know, it might be me because I've been doing it for quite some time. Initially, it was same with me as well. I would find things a little difficult, but as I got into it, I realized that nothing is worth fretting upon. Life is very, very small.
For sure.
Very small.
And thank you for that. I would say, like Gabriel had said, that there's like this yearning inside, like there's shifts in the mental state of mind of humans. We are truly evolving. There's certain like biological evolution, but now the thought and the spiritual evolution is really taking effect.
May I elaborate on the
Absolutely.
biological side? Because my training has been in the biological sciences, but it led me into a transdisciplinary scientific and spiritual perspective. The problem with our world really is we're compartmental. Everything is in boxes, especially with the male brain, because it's wired around specifics. It is because of a handicap of the male brain, which has evolved for over 250,000 years of evolution of Homo sapiens, especially the male brain, based on a clinical response called the fight, fright, and flight response.
Yeah, the F's.
The female brain, while the male, they were hunting for nearly quarter of a million years, evolved art, language, culture, expression, you name it. But the problem, repeatedly, and we think we know better now, but we don't, because we're still having that club in our hand, beating each other's brains out,
Caveman
forcing
mentality.
our perspective on the other.
Yes.
Because of this handicap of the male brain, anthropologically and biologically, the male nervous system thinks compartmental. We have done it with our science, chemistry, physics, bio. Don't touch bio with chemistry. As soon as you start talking about transcendental, quantum physics, quantum biology, intuitive consciousness, entanglement, these are scientific terms. They are not esoteric terms that I've just described. When you talk about Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, Deepak talks about that a lot.
Yeah.
Wayne recently passed away. He was trying to bring it into awareness. We need to have this transdisciplinary view and not compartmental. And this handicap has happened because of what is called singular logical thinking, the way the male brain fires a reactive response. The female brain is thinking multiple dimensions because the brain evolved as such, and the evolution of the nervous system of the male and female is totally different, simply because of the adaptation to natural phenomena as the cultures were growing. So to say that all that we know of, let's say in terms of meditation, we tend to think of it as again compartmental. Oh, it's you meditate now and then you're out of it, then you're in the real world. No, as you rightly said, the outside world and the inside world for the last 100 years in science, we know from quantum physics, are not separate. You must have heard of Dr. Emoto. Yes, please.
Sure. I'm sorry to interrupt, but one thing here, yes, it has been compartmentalized in that way, as you said, evolutionary and all that. But don't you think, like, nowadays with education, therapy, rehabilitation, like I work in the courts and I see people, as you said, the macho man, people, a lot of women who have been violated, a lot of children, I work with them in the courts, and they are sent to various rehabilitation, education, training. This is just to change the mentality of them, not to abuse, not to use violence. Don't you think evolution with education and therapy have brought about some change?
I couldn't have stated it better, because education is the key. Now, what we mean by education, that's another challenge, because you look at the education curriculum now, and I've approached a lot of school boards, because I've been working for the last 7 years with a singular focus on doing this transdisciplinary work. So I try to get the spiritual traditions of the world together with the latest advance in science, especially at the cutting edge, which is quantum physics and quantum biology. So all these people who have worked on it, who are Nobel laureates, Heisenberg, Planck, Schrödinger, these people reached that level of science and experimentation where they found out, and this is where really the cookie crumbles, is that the physical world and the psychological world are interdependent and correlated and entangled on top. So
Of course.
you hear about the experiments that they have done, and the problem is we're not bringing it into our education system in a very palatable way. So my work has been focused on taking the heavy scientific jargon as much as possible out, correlating it with the spiritual traditions of the world, from the poets, you name it, Tagore, Lao Tzu,
Rumi,
I
my
can't say
favorite.
enough about Rumi,
My favorite.
All of our
Hafiz,
favorites.
Ralph Waldo Emerson,
Yes.
Goethe. They experienced this intuitively. They experienced it in the mud of life, I call it. Because you cannot achieve consciousness unless you're smitten,
Of course.
unless your soul has broken.
Yeah.
You cannot feel life. So it's good in one way to have that experience. But to come out of it and to reflect on a transdisciplinary understanding of what is really happening in the natural phenomena, that Newtonian world of mechanism, of billiard ball, of machine that has taken over the world. Nothing wrong with mechanistic.
Fallen apple.
That's fantastic. That's okay. But again, we have this, and I'm sorry to say that it's a hegemony over science as well. Hegemony in the sense that they have compartmentalized it so badly that it's a disconnect, and we are now using science to basically devastate nature. This is the same club that Fred Flintstone had, and rather than being in a Stone Age, we have Stone Age mindset with modern technology. So it's further devastation and
Very
rape
difficult.
of the natural phenomena.
Very difficult.
But rather than moan about it and basically curse it, it doesn't help. How do we shift? We need to change the education curriculum in a way that it's transdisciplinary, so that when these kids are growing up, and we don't ruin the next generation as well with this kind of a mindset, we make race horses out of our children. The stress levels on the kids are way off the scales. That's why they go off to social media and all kinds of other...
Yeah, but I would say there's a very thin line between theory and reality. Theoretically, we think we should do it, but have we succeeded? That's the question.
The way it's going to come, the shift as we speak is on its way. There is no denying that the shift is not happening. What we are doing here is part of that shift.
Hope so.
Very much so.
The challenge in this paradigm shift is the ones who are the change makers. Are they going to get outside, not on the streets, but in a very empirical way, change the language that's around us? Because currently the language, you're put on the TV, you go on social media, it's absolutely bankrupt of what the actual power of the human soul is. Bankruptcy to the level that we can't even define consciousness. We can't even define what the soul is. Oh, but we are amazing, we can send rocket ships to the moon. Brilliant. Fine. But if you haven't defined the human psyche, consciousness, it's going to get back at you. Because that is the trouble which is at the center of the predicament of what it means to be human.
Exactly.
Young's work is phenomenal in this area. He was way out from Freudian psychology, and he moved into what is called the animus anima, or we can call it yin yang. The darkness and light are mutually complementary, and we shy away from our darkness. No, it's them. It's a religious group, it's a political group, it's the national, it's the scientist, it's the guru, it's the wizard. They are just definitions. We have to address that there is a darkness inside us.
Of course.
We have to make friends with this beast.
Yes.
And unless we do it, the beast is going to come out in science, in spirituality, in religion, in nationality, because the identity has not been actualized.
Very well
So
said.
the flowering of human consciousness is the biggest paradigm shift. And if this language is put in a palatable way, and I've done, I've written a trilogy on it. Heart Intelligence is my main work.
And it's incredible.
And
It is.
to talk about heart intelligence, because you'll have to hit me with something, because if I start working on talking about heart intelligence, the science of it, it's so phenomenal, and I don't want to take everybody else's time here, but I will mention a few bullet points about what it means to be heart intelligent. We had a lot of work done by Daniel Goleman on emotional intelligence. That was a paradigm shifting book, Dr. Daniel Goleman. It's a bestseller. Then he wrote social intelligence, and then he wrote environmental intelligence, which is trying to get into the mainstream curriculum. It's in the universities, but not at the schools. I was fascinated, and I try to bring it into the corporate culture because I was working with corporations. But I've noticed I'm training these engineers with PhDs and masters in engineering field, and all that they are trained to do is profits for their companies. Major companies, Fortune 500 that I've been working with. But sustainability is just such a, I would say simply a buzzword to market their companies. They do not really understand sustainability because they're not being taught these things in their courses. Because again, this male brain compartmental, don't touch this, keep it there. Get very annoyed when you start to talk transdisciplinary, transcendental, when you start to talk about at the macro and the micro level as one. They started to, actually, their brain just simply cannot compute that because they're not being trained as such. So what heart intelligence does, and the research in this field, there are 60 PhDs working in this field, and in an institution called HeartMath in California. And what they have done, they have actually mapped out and found out, and just this is where really, I would like you to really listen to this part, because it just blew my mind when I read the research in British Medical Journal, American Medical Journal, mainstream scientific journals. There is a conscious nerve center in the heart at the atrioventricular node, which is 5,000 times more electromagnetically stronger than the entire brain. So the idea of brain being the seat of consciousness or cognitive understanding of the world is way out for the last 5 years. We are in a shift now. So all these mystics talking about heart this, kalp this, atma, soul, in the heart, the kingdom of heaven is inside the heart, Jesus, all of them have talked about it, the avatars, the prophets, and we are again in this brain. We're trying to compute even our religion through brain. But it's talking about kalp in the Sufi traditions. So the next research that they did using electroencephalograms and cardioencephalograms measuring the electromagnetic field of the heart, 60 to 70 times more electrically stronger than the entire brain and the nervous system. The heart.
And I've spoken about this several times.
Yes.
Wow! And I was like, I lost my breath first time when I'm reading this paper, and I'm almost having a nervous breakdown, which I did.
Oh,
I'm
no.
not going to go into
And
that.
I'm just going to add to that, that this is science as we know it currently. This is what is measurable. But the actual magnetic field, or where the heart vibrates out to, in my personal theory, is to the edge of the universe. So that's what I always say. Especially when you are in the presence of someone emanating that love, which is heartfelt and just vibrating out, you know, like a ripple effect, or just, you know, we can envision vibrations.
String
It's like,
field.
exactly. There is no extent that it will not get to. In my opinion, it's infinite.
Well,
You
from
just-
a medical point of view, sorry to interrupt, you know, it's the very basic phenomena that all of the impulses are being created by the heart, all of the electrical impulses,
Yes,
right? So
like when you are
that's-
inside the wombs of your mother
Exactly.
at 4 weeks, when the first pulse started, as a biologist, I couldn't get an answer from all my cousins who are neurologists, who are cardiologists, and when I asked them, could you please explain to me at the ventricular duct, the first spark that starts, how does it start?
Like
The
pre-embryo stage.
No.
I mean,
yes.
I'm having a FRCS sitting in front of me, and I'm asking this question. Many of them are in the family, and they're like, excuse me, why do you even bother? Because we're not trained to do that. We are cardiologists. Again, the compartment is coming. I could see through the skull already. So could we experiment, and could you care to read papers and researchers who have worked on this? No. Immediately I could see that there's a bit of a xenophobia there happening as well. There's a scare. You're talking to me about my field, compartmental box, club, guarding it,
Yeah.
you know, the
Protective
male psyche.
instinct.
It's and then I try to explain the science in this field, and basically they say, "Whoa, this is esoteric. This is we've never heard of this because we're not trained like that." And you look at the medical field now; it's the third most lucrative institution in the world after weapons of war and oil is the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
And they don't really heal you. They are just dealing with the causes.
No healing.
The
the
three more
effects,
lucrative
not the
industries:
cause.
sex, drugs, and war.
Exactly. So
There's one thing which I would like to add to that, and going back to physics, and I've done a lot more like self-study than anything else, even though I did take it at university as well, because of my fascination. I read a book, it's called The Quantum Soul, and also spiritual books, and just you know, all personal research. But when we actually go to the observer theory,
yes.
and I feel that it's important to bring up, because whatever paradigm shift is occurring is because of what we are viewing things as.
Thank
So
you
if
very
we view things that, you know, they are not evolving, they're not going to evolve. That's not going to be the truth, so to speak, for us or anyone else viewing it that way. So with media, you know, projecting things of politics or war and making sure that that's what our focus is on, that's what's going to continue to perpetuate. And which is why, you know, each and every one of you have said that it's so necessary for us to change that focus. And when we focus on, you know, what a wonderful life it is.
Yes.
When we focus on, you know, right now, tea is of relevance and importance. You know, like whatever it may be the most simple things, and yet when we wholeheartedly immerse ourselves into it, that's all that exists in that time and space.
I would like to just add on something that we both have said. When we're talking about heart especially, so we do like chakra readings as well and chakra healing. There are 7 chakras that we say that run, and heart happens to be one of, like, it is the major seat.
Right.
Now, if you look at it, imagine there's a room full of people, and there's a little baby of 5-6 months who started like crawling, and everybody's trying to clap and try to like attract the child towards them, you will be surprised to see that the child who doesn't even know that this one is my mom, from a distance also crawls towards the mother.
Right.
What I have realized is because it's just not that the child has lived inside mother for so long, but even at the distance, the connection is made because mother holds a child towards the left side most of the time. So it's 99.9% that the mother holds a child to the left side, and the connection that is made is that of the vibration from heart to heart. And even from that distance, that vibration is felt.
I have to add something. I have a friend who only hugs me from the left side. She's like, no, Fariha, we must maintain that heart-to-heart connection.
Yes.
I would say, we should all do that. In that awareness of things like this are real and they exist.
Yes, yeah. Sometimes we just see people from a distance and we tend to not like them, even without knowing them, even without even saying hello to them. It is because the vibration is like two magnets which repel, and there are two magnets which attract. So it is our everything. There's so much around us. It's just like, I think the more we explore, the more we know. The seven chakras go into 20. The vibration out of 7 goes out to 24, and then it goes to 56, and then it keeps expanding. That whole vibe, like the field that we have around us.
Well, speaking of vibrations and how human, we tend to respond to that, is that I came across this study a while back, is that how we respond to the drum beats. It's just that because that's the so to speak, the first beat that we have heard is in the mother's womb is the heartbeat, which is very similar to the drum beats, and that's why naturally we all respond very well to the drum beats, and we just start, liking it. Nobody ever I've come across is that does not like the drum beats, It's just because it's very, very similar to the rhythmic move that beats to the mother's heartbeat.
And healing,
Nice
you
comparison.
talked about like pharmaceutical industry and everything, like medicines. I tell so many times, I have done that to myself too. Yes, when you're seriously ill, you do need medication, emergency. But in daily life, maybe if you have a lot of like throat problem, healing your throat yourself, like, would help you. And it is not just the physical sign that you have. You might not be speaking out so many things that you want to. Maybe you're holding on so many things that you really wanted to express. So that affects your heart. And it is just not the physical sign as the last sign on the body that says now get there and get the medication. Yeah. And if we are healing our chakras every day, or our body, because it is all made of cells. As science says, if you disintegrate, it's nothing. Right?
Yes.
And if all that we see is, it looks solid, but it's not. So it applies to all ourselves. And if we can talk to our plants and we touch our plants and say, I love you and you're doing amazing. This is my real life thing. I have done that somebody at my home not doing that to the plants, and I'm doing that to the plants. The plants are blooming so beautifully. And same goes with the cells. When I have pain in my body somewhere, I just touch my maybe back and I say, hey, we've been holding there for quite some time. Come on, we'll do it. We'll go through it. And surprisingly, it goes. But that also tells me that I need to be doing something with my body now. There's some stress going on or something else is going on that is coming down on my back or my shoulders, and headaches and so many things.
Yes.
So it starts vibrationally and it gets into us, and finally it comes out as physical pains and diseases.
You know what? That's quite a surprise, and if I can share a very brief story here, and it's a personal experience. The days that I work from home, I have a plant which is sitting right next to my desk. And when I'm working from home and being, again, I'm with pharmaceutical industry and I manage the largest portfolio in Canada for the oncology patients. So I am very stressed out with a lot of stuff, so the majority of my day and hours are pretty much fighting with the ministries and all over for my patients, and getting them drug coverages. So I noticed that these two plants literally start dying, because majority of my day that I was working from home, I was like always so stressed, and I was like, not yelling, but I was literally like, I was, not in, so to speak, negative, right? There was nothing positive about my day that I would be, as much as I really want to stay, but again, striving and fighting, so to speak, for my patients and getting them drug coverage. So I think it is still consider to be in something, you know, not so positive for my plants. And when I moved these plants towards my kitchen and they start, you know, getting back to normal, and I was like, oh my God, Fariha. And I just shared the story with her. I'm like, oh my God, you know, it is so true that I should be gentle to my plants, and I just moved them away from like, so I have just recreated my workspace.
Everything
and I'm like, you know what,
is
it's just so
related.
not
Everything is
fair to
related.
them.
See, what you just mentioned, Dr. Emoto's experiments on water.
Water, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was just a PhD thesis to start off with, and then the experiment was repeated worldwide in top major universities. Actually, he started with what is called the Copenhagen experiment. So the Copenhagen interpretation, which was the earlier half of the 20th century, when all the major scientists throughout the world came together and they had already experimented with what is known as minor matter, of that everything that is out there is vibrating along and vis-a-vis the intuitive electromagnetic field of the human hearts. Research was still a bit at a novice state at that level. The first experiment that came out was the double slit. We don't get this taught in the mainstream.
Yes.
There is a problem because it's called the Copenhagen conspiracy, because Einstein took this problem to his deathbed, fighting around it because he broke the Newtonian model with relativity. But he was baffled with quantum physics. And what quantum physics is basically, people think that, whoa, this is way beyond our understanding because we're so stuck in a reactive world where the outside world would push it away and the inside world we keep it to ourselves. And we say there is a disconnect. There is nothing more, not a bigger lie which has been perpetrated on the human race.
And what you said about water is that if you see all the religions, if you go to the religious place, they give you holy water.
Yeah.
How does that impact us? Because there are prayers, there are vibrations being absorbed by that water so much that when we use it, it changes something in us. It impacts us in some way.
So I
Very
think I
much.
should be baptized with all of them.
Well, actually, what Kamal said, regardless of where you go, what holy place, there's always, you know, water. Like there's Ab Zamzam, there's the Ganges. Of the Shia tradition, when they wash the alams, you know, it's they give you the water to drink.
And they say we are 70% water
Ourselves.
ourselves.
Well, in some
I
cases,
think it all
90.
blends in together.
Yes.
Yeah.
The athletically fit people carry more water in them because
wow.
the turgor pressure
So it's
in
not
the
just
body
muscle, it's
is
water.
Yeah.
And actually, we're due for a break right now. Mani, what do we have lined up?
So I believe it's your request.
Oh,
Imagine.
well, I know what that is. Imagine.
John Lennon?
Exactly.
Whoa, my
And
favorite.
we all love that indeed. And I just felt that it's so fitting for our topic of discussion today. And, you know, everything that we're wanting to create for the world at large. And it's an invitation for everyone to join us. John Lennon has said that, you know, a dream is just a dream when dreamt alone. But a dream dreamt together is reality. So when we're all dreaming of world peace and love and compassion and the paradigm shifts and that greater awareness, how can it not happen?
Fantastic.
So here you go. Imagine by John Lennon.
My wife's favorite as well.
I love that too.
Sorry, we weren't muted yet. So all of our guests are so talented, multi-talented. They all are authors. They are very cultural and artistic, and you know, authors writing poetry, expressing themselves in very beautiful ways. And we don't have too much more of the show left, so we'll start with Rummana. If we can please hear an excerpt from one of your books, and if you can please tell which book it's from and the poem that you're sharing with us.
Sure. Actually, I had decided to recite a poem, but with all this meditation and reflections and philosophy, I changed my choice of poems for something which would suit today's mood. This poem is from a book which was published 2 years ago from the United States, Where Do I Belong? It is the questions of our existence. Along with the physical existence comes the spiritual existence and the psychological existence. So I think the poem that I have now selected for this discussion and this program will better suit our mood of reflections and meditations. And I've titled it Pomegranate Blossoms. This book has over 120 poems, and it's also available in Amazon if you would like to have a copy. So it's a positive poem about world peace, about humanity, and how we can go forward with the variables which are inflicted on our lives at this moment. Pomegranate Blossoms. Perhaps what you saw in the moonlight was not meant for your eyes or for your soul. You blink your eyes and try to see more clearly. The autumn blue sky was changing colors all the time. It was the time for departure, but you did not want to leave yet. The Milky Way seemed to be totally out of your easy understanding. You followed the sweet gazelle running to the shores of the river Ganga unhesitatingly as the mystery of the night deepens. The pomegranate blossoms have a life of their own without trying to come between the past and their near future. You let go of all your bindings and start playing with the happy creatures surrounding your nightlife. You see the glorious days approaching your crimson dawn, overriding the corpses scattered all around the battlefield of right and wrong, good and evil, war and peace, and the fragrance of the blossoms finds its way into the unknown lanes and by-lanes until you lose your sense of victory and defeat and do not care for anything anymore. The echoes in your heart resound in the surrounding caves made by history and men who did not yet know how a new universe was about to begin.
Beautiful.
Wow,
Thank you
beautiful.
so much.
You're welcome.
So what started you to write poetry?
Actually, I started when I was in grade 6, and I found that writing a story or a novel needed a lot of elaboration, and I did not have that patience. So I find poetry is the sweetest and the shortest way of expressing ourselves amidst a few lines, and we get the message out. But poets, I think, personally, yes, nature is good, it's therapeutic, life is good, romance is good, but I feel every poet should have a message for the readers who read it. There should be something positive in that particular poem for a person to climb out of distress at times. I've written about women and violence, about abused children, so people who are the perpetuators, people who are the victims can climb out of it. I always try to put a positive tone to it. So I think every poet or every writer should have an aim to bring about something positive in mankind. So I found it the shortest and sweetest way, and I started with English poetry, then Bengali poetry. Now I do translations of English and Bengali. But now I think, although I have roots in Bangladesh, we should go into the mainstream. So I write in English. My first novel will come out this year from USA. And I've written about the dilemma of living in two countries. And that's it. I think we should all have a message.
For sure. And 24 books later, all this history.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. It's just,
Quite an accomplishment.
I can, and if you see in the studios, you know, that this
It looks like a
phenomenal
university
guests
room.
have the absolutely the pile of books here in front of them, and I just feel so, I just want to hide under my desk here, you know. Just,
I think books are the best companion.
Exactly, you know, you guys have accomplished so much, you know, in just such a short period of time, you know, that it's just amazing. It's amazing. And
Thank
quite
you.
In truth, you've done nothing wrong. You were doing the best you possibly could at the time. So that's all for my Steve.
So let it go. It's okay. And don't be so hard on yourself.
And forgive yourself. Sometimes we always say, I need to forgive the other person. But it's first we need to forgive ourselves before we can go ahead and forgive the opposite party.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's actually,
Yeah.
I think, a Buddhist
Yeah.
saying
Yes.
that
It's like walking with charcoal in your hand with the
Yeah.
intent of throwing it on others. Not only do
Yes.
you burn yourself, but you burn others also. So just get rid of the charcoal.
yeah,
Wow, it's
let it go.
let it go.
Let it go, yes.
Thank you so much, Hannah. It's been quite enlightening, and Hannah will be posting the cards on our Facebook page. So for those of you who want to center yourself, center your thoughts, and choose a card, you can absolutely access all the information on our Facebook page. And now we've had an artistic expression from Rummana, her poetry, and Gabriel, I know that you have a treat in mind for us.
Well, I'm not really a poet by design. It's just by default, and I would say.
Well, let's just keep the
This
male
is-
brain out of it.
Exactly.
Past that.
Yes, we can be easy
That's just
then.
a human experience of you. Your spirituality is far beyond.
No, the thing is, as I said, I've focused on science and I've written a lot on science, but as I said, it did not really bring into conscious awareness of what my soul really wanted to convey. So by default I moved into aphorisms or poetic expression and started writing on that as well. So I'm just going to read a brief one and a little bit longer one. This one is it's a poem explaining my work on interfaith understanding. Not that religiosity that you see in compartmental, institutionalized religion. That is really making the world
And
almost
it's such a
insane.
perfect fit for our show, because Mani and I always say that, you know, it's non-denominational, we don't discuss politics, religions, like there's no separation, we truly are all one.
Yeah, because in the field of comparative religion, I spent a lot of time reading all the original, organic, sacred texts of the great faiths of the world, starting from the Rig Veda, the Upanishads, the Puranas, the Quran, the Injil, the Torah, the Bible. But in an empirical, common denominator perspective, when you read through it, you just see the central truths are glowingly clear. And whatever is vaguely dissimilar are actually interpretations by patriarchal clerics. And I even chase them, but I'm not going to talk about them because I've stopped chasing them.
And even
Because
in
we
the
need to-
ancient Sanskrit Vedic traditions, right? Like, we can go as far back as we wish.
Yes. Just to explain the literal name of Creator in every religion, the description is absolutely the same. You say Om, Allah, Ilahum, Ilahi, Rab, Brahma. There are in the organic contexts of the religious text, word for word, the meaning is the same. Even in Tao Te Ching by the Lao Tzu, the Tao, as he explains, it's a phenomenal book. All of them are, and really the problem has been this hegemonic, patriarchal, again this male compartmental religiosity has created that shift. So, but that is a different subject. But this poem kind of gives it expiates that, if I may say, in a very alchemical way. So the poem goes as follows. Inside my heart there is a temple, a synagogue, a church, a mosque, a monastery, a fish market, a serene lake, a tempestuous sea, agreements and disagreements, glory and failure, a big bang at dawn and a little bang at dusk, all the cries, aspirations and silent prayers, yearning and seeking, everything disintegrates and dissolves. in a tempestuous ocean, finally unifies, collapses on one altar in one breath, in God. That's just one of the poems.
Beautiful. Seems like we've been talking about rivers and fishing a lot today. And I believe in synchronicity. I believe there's no accidents or coincidences. Accidents or coincidences in the universe. And so just how, we've all come together today, from my perspective, it's just divine planning.
Yes, I agree with you, absolutely.
Well, Carl Jung calls it complementarity, and Heisenberg's experiments called it entanglement at the physical level down to the atom and the subatomic particles. Literally, that is happening in a scientific way as well, not just the esoteric way, because they say the vibrations that wipe together come together, even in the world of physics, not just the esoteric world. I have another one, if I may.
Of course.
It's a little bit longer, if you can bear with me. I don't know whether you read Shikwa Jawab Shikwa by Sir Muhammad Iqbal.
Yes.
It's a popular one.
Yes.
The inspiration actually comes from Rumi's Diwan Shams, which is really level 10 spirituality. Even the Rubayat of Umar Khayyam or Diwan of Hafiz, or be it the Masnavi of Rumi, does not really go to the level 10, which is Diwan Shams, because that was after Shams basically was killed, that Rumi went into this way out transcendental perspective. So it's kind of my own dialogue with the divine creator, or whatever we may call it. I will see if I can read it a little bit faster. God, let's talk. I am royally confused. An aphorismic dialogue with God. God, what happens when we meet? God's response: at first sight, your eyes bloodshot. On second reflection, your mind laughter. On third reflection, your heart ecstatic. God, we are all set for a dimensional leap. Do you copy? We are going to communicate irrespective of the silence. God's response: I am ready when you are. God, what is greatness? God's response: greatness is an incremental value of how small you are. God, what do you require of me? God's response: forget your mind. You're not your mind. Forget your body. You're not your body. Open your heart. Fly. God, what is that you want of me? God's response: nothing that you do not want for yourself. God, how do I live? God's response: be alive every moment. Live. Be the eye of whatever you are looking at. Live. Be the soul of whatever you want to be. Live. God, what do you want me to be? God's response: yourself. God, why is life full of suffering? God's response: leave your windows dirty and you will see dirt wherever you look. Clean your windows and you will see myriads of colorful dimensions. Kindly keep your windows clean. Your illusion is your suffering. God, why is there so much evil? God's response: I don't know, you tell me. I created human beings to make a difference. I said make a difference, not to put up a fight over trivial rights and wrongs. God, define evil. God's response: the purpose of self-murder is the greatest source of evil. It's a condition of being psychologically dead with a morbid fascination for evil. Thus, then, evil is simply the absence of good. God, what is the best way to peace? God's response: surrender, wonder, awe. God, what does it take to be happy? God's response: travel light. God, if you created the universe, who created you? Well, that is the big question. God's response: the question is an oxymoron. I am not a thing. I am not, and yet I am. You are stuck in a chicken and egg dilemma, like a fish not knowing the water it swims in. No worries, nobody gets it. God, who am I? God's response. You are my beloved. God, why am I so full of error? God's response. It's okay. You are lovely in all your imperfections. No matter how much you polish the mirror, it will gather dust. I love your stamina. God, why is there heaven and hell? God's response. This is not my doing. You guys created your own heaven and hell. God.
We do indeed, don't we?
Yes.
If you ask us not to judge, then why do you judge us? God's response. I don't. You will be judged by your own conscience. Please leave me out of it. God, why different religions? God's response. I am not religious, and I have no understanding of religion, hence not qualified to answer this. Please ask the ones who create religions. However, there are pockets of truth, but you guys have made a fetish out of them. You are stuck in a small pond, quibbling with your neighbors. Whose pond is bigger? Have you ever considered taking a plunge in the ocean? God, what's with the rituals? I don't get it. God's response. All roads lead to me. However, there is another way. You may call it the hat way. It's like a detour, but the view is priceless. Want to take a ride? God, I know. I want to love you, but I don't know how. God's response. Love yourself, love your neighbors, that tree, this dog. Love especially your enemies, and that way you will learn to love me. God, why the images? God's response. Men have created me in their own image, and then blame it on all the images. Shatter the mirrors, then you may see me in your own heart. God, why do you need my prayers? God's response. Hello, I am free of any wants. You pray, hence avoid the expensive bill to the psychiatrist. Besides, the psychiatrist is also clueless. Alternatively, sing with me like that bee, like that waterfall. God, who is in charge? God's response. Nobody and everybody. God, why the special places of worship? God's response. Every place is special. Some places the air between the two worlds is thinner. That place is your heart.
Beautiful. And as it happens, we've come to the end of our show. I do not know where the time has flown, but it's 2 p.m. Thank you so much from the depth of our hearts. Everyone in the studio, our beloved guests, and all of our beloveds around the globe, wherever you may be. We know that you wake up early to listen to us, you go to bed late to listen to us, you put things aside to listen to us, and it is our profound privilege and joy to be here with you every Sunday. From our heart to yours, God bless you. And we look forward to being with you next Sunday.